URC round number 5, folks, is in the bag. The Sharks have got their Springboks back. The Lions maintain their unbeaten run, just barely. Leinster have still got a perfect 5 from 5. Scarlets flying the flag for the Welsh sides. We will go through the matches, some of the kind of key events, stats and whatnot, the standings for the 5th round of action and the upcoming fixtures for round 6. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how this round went. Saw some of the games in full and others on highlights, and for some reason the highlights, after being good for the first few weeks, have gone a bit scattergun again. I'm not sure what it is. It's been an issue with the URC throughout the competition. The highlights have been either exceptionally short or like seemingly just shoving bits and pieces in randomly. First few rounds I was singing their praises, they were all good. This week you got double ups of things being shown more than one time. You've got like some tries being shown once and then replayed 3 times from 3 different angles, and other tries only shown once and then not again. You got referees talking about decisions they've made, but the actual thing that they were deciding on not being shown. Weird. It's one thing that the URC really just struggles with. As I said, it was going good to the start of the season, but yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I don't really understand it. I would have thought if you want to sell the game, showing people the highlights of those games would be good. But anyway, highlights of Ulster and Ospreys is the game that I watched, because I ended up watching Scarlets and Bulls in full because it was on at the same time. Ulster pretty comfortable, 36-12 winners over the Ospreys boys. McCormack got 2 tries, one from a maul and one from kind of a 5 meter pick and go, basically from a tap. Stockdale got a couple, including a really nice one on the 65th minute from a really long pass. That was from Lowry, and penalty try on 23rd minute again from a maul. Marcus Ray from a metre out. So yeah, Ulster continued to be a really dangerous side from close range. For the Ospreys, Sam Perry got one, and then Giles got one on 61 minutes. So that one I feel like goes pretty much with the script. I don't think the Ospreys were favoured to do much against Ulster, and Ulster, sure enough, put them to the sword with some nice tries. As I said, mixture of kind of forwards and backs. Bonus point win for the Ospreys. Bonus point win for the Ulster boys. So yeah, kind of to be expected. There's nothing really startling about that. 19 tackles from Marcus Ray along with his tries, a pretty good effort. Stockdale had 129 metres, which is pretty solid. The Ulster boys themselves had 421 to the Ospreys 280, so it seems like they had the vast majority of the running game. Clean breaks 8-3. I mean, Morgan Morris still has like 80 odd metres, which is when you only get 280 for your team, for one of your loosies to have 84 of those. So a fairly sizable chunk. I don't know why Gats doesn't seem to like Morgan Morris, but I reckon he's a good player. So there you go. Ulster get their result for that one. They are now 3-2, so a positive record for them. The Ospreys are bottom of the log with a 1-4 record after 5 rounds. Scarlets and the Bulls did a full match review for this one, but in a nutshell, I feel like the refereeing is going to be a big talking point for that one, especially the SHAvGLA red card. I will be interested to see if that one gets rescinded. As I mentioned in the match review, I find it hard to pick him recently because I wasn't that surprised Creel got red carded, but then his one got rescinded. But then I was surprised SHAvGLA got red carded. So knowing my luck, it'll just be one that doesn't get rescinded because they'll rule that it was fair. There was a time when they were really very fixated on any kind of high tackles, and I feel like we were seeing a flurry of red cards, and then it seems like the powers that be toned them back a bit. So I thought this was in that kind of toned them back category, but apparently not. High shot from SHAvGLA equals a red card. The guy he hit didn't go off for an HIA or anything, which is, I don't know, it feels like it's always one of those kind of telltale signs about how big or not a hit has been, at least from a layman's point of view. But anyway, SHAvGLA gets red carded. And to be fair, a lot of Bulls fans did say, and it's fair, that the Bulls were just not very good in the second half of that game. The Bulls have become a team, seemingly, which starts really well, but struggles in recent times anyway to kind of put in a full 80. Like Moody gets a try in the 2nd minute. Berger gets one in the 16th minute. Aronson in the 30th minute. That is a nice kind of every 15 odd minutes. We'll start of the game, then 50 minutes later, getting tries. That's it for the entire game. Whereas the Scarlets boys, McLeod gets 1 on 12, Blair Murray on 42, and then Tom Rogers with some great footwork on 72 minutes. And you've got to give some credit to the Scarlets. I know there's a lot of talk about the ref, but they tackled the house down, man. 123 tackles at 87%. Against the Bulls, that's pretty good. Whereas the Bulls, 77%, which is shocking, and only made 74 tackles. Like Moody made 4 from 7. Aronson made 4 from 6. Chamberlain made 5 from 7. Immelman made 1 from 3. Too many guys missing tackles. It's just, you're going to lose games if you miss that many tackles. I mean, the Scarlets guys did well to break them, but sometimes those are the ones you need to be making. Possession first half was 39-61 with the Bulls on the right side of that. Second half was 56-44 with the Scarlets on the right side. So yeah, really good second half effort from the Scarlets boys to give the Bulls their first loss. The Bulls are now 3-1. The Scarlets 2 wins, 2 losses and a draw, but the only Welsh side to win this week. Zebre and the Lions, lowest scoring game of the round, 10 points to 9. Final scoring is on like the 47th minute of this game. Zebre get 3 penalties on the 15th, 22nd, and then 47th minute. The Lions are trying to Emil van der Merwe on 28 minutes, unconverted, and then a penalty to Rahamba in 43 minutes. That's the entire scoring of the game. It seemed to be pretty awful weather in Parma in terms of the rain, so that will no doubt have kept the scoring down. I'm pretty glad this is one that I only saw the highlights of because it doesn't seem like it was a thriller in terms of just pure scoring plays, but sometimes games that go down to the wire are the ones that kind of have you on the edge of your seat. Kicks from hand, miles above every other game this week, 38-35. So I guess in the wet, neither side really wanting to play with the ball too much. Nohamba made a pretty key tackle at the end of the game, which was pleasing to see. I like that guy. He's a good player. JC Pretorius, the flanker for the Lions, made 2 turnovers, which is cracking. Priscantelli, the fullback for Zebre, had 84 metres, which is pretty good when you consider the next best guy in the entire game had 38. So fullbacks often top the run meters, but they don't usually get more than double the next best player. So yeah, Lions are 4-0, undefeated. And Zebre 1 from 4, but losing bonus point for that one. They are still above the Ospreys, which is something. Sharks in Glasgow. Sharks with their Springboks back knock off the reigning champions at home. And it's some Springboks that get some tries, man. CONvLEI gets one after a maul, bunch of phases, and he's able to go over. Fussy gets one from a nice quick tap. And Grant Williams got one after Mapimpi put a nice kick through. So some good tries from the Stormers, but Sharks unable to get 4. But it is still a win, whereas the Glasgow boys managed to walk away with 2 points from this one, which is 10 minutes from the end, more than it was looking like they were going to get. George Horn bagged a couple, some hands, like Tui Polottu with a nice wide ball for the build-up for George Horn's first one, and then Kyle Rowe with the kick for his second. Darge got one on like 79 minutes, which left the door open for the Glasgow boys to chase a 4-try bonus point and a losing bonus point, and they got it. Maybe the try of the game. It's Johnny Matthews who ended up finishing it, but it's the likes of like McDowell with the line break, and then I think Kyle Rowe, and then with the final pop ball to Johnny Williams. So it's a cracking try. 2 points out of that one on a trip to South Africa when the Sharks got their box back. I don't think that's a bad return. I mean, you'd obviously like to get the win, but given you were about to walk a game away from this game with 0, to get 2, not too bad. And interestingly, the attacking numbers for Glasgow are phenomenal. Like 5 clean breaks to the Sharks 2, 21 defenders beaten to the Sharks 12, but penalties conceded 12-7, almost double, plus a yellow card, which the Sharks didn't have. So yeah, discipline, maybe one of the kind of key factors in that one. Dempsey had 4 defenders beaten. He continues to be a real menace at the back of that Glasgow pack. And like for the Sharks guys, Fussy had 70-odd metres, Mapimpi had 60-odd. So, yeah, some Bok power back in that Sharks team. And they get a result, even if it looks tighter on the scoreboard. The Sharks weren't ever losing that one at the end. The Stormers also get a win as the South African theme continues. 34 points to 19 over Munster. Graham Roundtree was angry at the end of this game. He was really quite frustrated. He gave a pretty passionate post-match talk with John de Villiers, and yeah, basically said they need to cut out the errors, too many errors. set piece time and just individual errors. He's really unhappy with those. But 34-19, and he's looking for the team to kind of galvanise basically and get the season back on track. They started slow last season as well, which I think some of the kind of commentators mentioned, which is a fair point. And away in South Africa is always a tough place to go. But yeah, they come away with nothing with this one. Only 3 tries for Munster, just short of that 4th for the bonus point. So Hartzenberg got one from an intercept for the Stormers to start the scoring. Tennyson got one from a 5-metre tap. Nell got a couple. The late try was a Ruan Nell intercept special to get the bonus point for the Stormers. So an emphatic way for them to finish the game. Great crowd as well in Cape Town. I feel like one of the most impressive crowds of the weekend. So good on you Cape Townians for getting out there and supporting the team. I mean, it probably helps that it's a replay of the final from a couple of years ago, which gives it a bit more oomph in terms of having a team that you know come to town and wanting to get a bit of revenge on them. And this game had a bit of everything. Like Damien Willems even kicked the drop goal in this game. So yeah, keeping the scoreboard ticking over in lots of different ways. Tom Farrell got one for the Munster fellas after Willems had been charged down, to be fair, so it wasn't a perfect outing from him, but good to see him playing. Clark got one from a maul, and Gavin Coombs got one from close range for Munster. But as I said, they kind of come away with nothing from this one. They are out of the playoff spots at the minute. Tackling percentages, both sides at 83. Would like to be a bit higher. The Stormers had to make a few more, 107 to 84, but interestingly, they controlled the territory well, 60-40 over the course of that game. So yeah, Stormers now 2-2. Remember, the South African teams are still 1 week behind everyone else. And Munster 2-3. Edinburgh and Cardiff from the Hive. I still love the look of the Hive Stadium. I saw a few empty seats in it, but it always looks pretty good on camera because it's mostly full. It's a great atmosphere. We've seen some games like that over here in New Zealand for the NPC. Like I think Bay of Plenty had 5,000 fans at a game the other day, and it looked great. Looked so much better than a big empty stadium. So I love the Hive, but they had to wait for some scoring for this one because at half-time, I mean, it finishes 27-8 to Edinburgh, but at half-time it was 5-3 to Cardiff. So it's a big second-half shift from the Edinburgh boys, which sees them walk away with a bonus point win. Thomas Young got the only try of the first half for Cardiff. And, yeah, they had a penalty to go along with that in the second half. But in the second half, it's Edinburgh who seemed to run riot. Duan van der Merwe had a nice one in the corner. The look of Cameron Winnett as he tackled Duan and tried to put him into touch. And Duan just kind of went up and over. Like, Winnett looked puzzled by that try score, but it was a good try from Duan in the corner. SCAvBUL got one, close range after a maul had gone close. Darcy Graham got one after Watson to come off the bench and set up a nice line break in good hands with Price to pop the ball to Graham, who just had to finish it off. And then Ashman got one on 79 minutes as Cardiff lose a line out on their own 5-metre line to kind of hand Edinburgh a bonus point. Edinburgh will be loving the bonus points this year because it's an area where they struggled last year. So yeah, 27 points to 8. I mean, Edinburgh had 61% possession. They had 58% territory, and the second half numbers were where they really kind of pushed out those numbers. So a big second half shift from them. Run meters finished 580 to 288. So some good attacking stats for the Edinburgh boys. Duan van der Merwe, 138 metres. I mean, the number 8 for Cardiff, Lawrence, had like 28 tackles, no, 26, which is a pretty cracking effort too. But yeah, second half is a tough watch if you're a Cardiff fan. But well done, Edinburgh. They're now 2-3 after dropping a few games at the start of the season. Season seems to be getting on track, and Cardiff likewise 2-3, but now drop out of the playoff spots where they were after round 4. Connacht, no, we'll go with Dragons. Dragons and Benetton. 31-21 for the Italian boys. Yeah, it's an interesting one because I've only seen the highlights of it. It seems like the Dragons were kind of good value during this game, but just couldn't finish off tries. They blew seemingly quite a lot of opportunities. I mean, Westwood got one from an intercept when they had the Benetton guys down to 14 with the yellow card. They were attacking and seemingly blowing opportunities, but then they got an intercept kind of against the run of play, which is an unusual way to score, but they get that try. Lloyd Evans got one. from a kind of messy Dragons lineup move as well. Seemed a little bit fortuitous. And then Lewis Hughes got one on 73. But for the Benetton boys, Bernasconi got one from a maul. And they got one of the most bizarre tries of the game through Abaka, the tight head prop, on 46 minutes. After the Dragons had dropped a high ball. And it just kind of bobbled around. And the tight head prop's the guy who ends up going over from like 10 meters. He's even got time to stick his arm in the air to celebrate. Boy, did they replay that one in the highlights. It is an unusual one. But yeah, I don't think the Dragons guys were happy with their guy that got hit after dropping the high ball. But I think it was fair, personally, from what I saw of it. Manfredi got one from a pick and go. And Lorenzo Canone got the bonus point one on 68 minutes with their big scrum bossing the Dragons guys around. So yeah, the Dragons come away from this one with no points. But I'm saying, like, they had 5 clean breaks to 2. They beat 22 defenders to 12. So yeah, they had some nice attacking numbers, but just not the finishing ability, seemingly. Turnovers won 5-2 to Benetton. Penalties conceded 12-6 with the Dragons on the wrong side of that one. Never a good look when you are conceding double the penalties of your opponent. And then Leinster and Connacht did full match review for that one if you haven't seen it as well. Story of the wind with that one. Goodness me, like, I know Galway's windy, but this seemed extra windy. Like, the territory numbers are nuts. 80-20 to Leinster in the first half. 72-28 to Connacht in the second. So just the wind dictated the way this game was going to be played, and Leinster able to put on a bunch of points when they had the wins at their back. Osborne with one, Turner with one, and then Snyman with one. Snyman was nuts with his offloading game. He finished the game with 8 offloads despite those conditions. Like, that's more than a lot of teams had, and he's just one man. Connacht had 1 try in the first half through Sean O'Brien, and just the one with the wind at their back through Ford on 65 minutes. Frawley's injury will certainly be a because he went off really early in this game. A disappointing one from a Leinster point of view. But, I mean, in terms of the team, the results, the season is still looking perfect with 5 bonus point wins from 5 games. So, yeah, 33-12. Pretty comfortable in the end. Leinster 5-0. Connacht are now 2-3. If we look at the table, Leinster top the log. Remember, they have played one more game than the Lions, who are in second, who are 4-0. Glasgow in third, and Bulls in fourth, so it's your top 4. Then the rest of the playoff teams, Ulster, Edinburgh, Connacht, and Benetton. So 3 of the Irish sides making up the top 4 with Munster dropping out of that kind of playoff spots with their loss. 2 South African sides, remembering they are still a game behind. 2 of the Scottish sides, they are both in the playoff spots at the minute. And then 1 of the Italian sides, none of the Welsh sides in the playoff spots, with Cardiff getting that most recent loss. Next round sees Benetton taking on the Bulls. Benetton may see a bit of hope there, with the Bulls seemingly kind of in imperious form to start the season, but then with the Scarlets getting a win. If the Bulls get another red card, who knows for Benetton. Their season seems to be getting better as we go on as well. Scarlets against Zebre could be a really interesting one. Scarlets will be taking a lot of confidence with that win over the Bulls. Stormers against Glasgow. That should be one of the games of the round, you would think. Ospreys up against Edinburgh. Ospreys are desperate to get some kind of result. Sharks against Munster. Likewise, Graham Rountree wants to see the Munster guys turn things around, but it's a hard ask with the Bok boys all back for the Sharks. Leinster against the Lions. Your 2 unbeaten sides. One of them's going to walk away, unless it's a draw, with their first loss of the season, but Leinster will certainly be massive favourites, despite the fact that the Irish side's hooker depth is certainly being tested. Cardiff against Ulster. Cardiff could get themselves potentially back into the playoff spots if they were to get a win over Ulster, but they'll likely be underdogs at home. And then Connacht against the Dragons. Connacht will be certainly eyeing up a win for that one. So that is round 5 of the URC. You guys let us know your thoughts on how things went. Drop some insights for the games that you guys watched as well. What have you thought of the highlights? As I said, I thought at the start of the season they were looking pretty good, but this week's ones were seemingly a drastic kind of drop in just like quality control, which is a little bit disappointing. But yeah, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. There's certainly more URC stuff to come. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.